Hello, I'm Philip Hughes. I've spent about 40 years doing research and I'm now teaching research methods. Much of my research has been conducting and analysing surveys. So this is the first in a set of films about how to do analysis. Let me say at the beginning that these films only skim the surface of analysis, and I strongly recommend that you read a textbook for the details. I think one of the best is David DeVoe's book, Surveys in Social Research. It's thorough, accurate and also accessible, even for people who are not strong in statistics. Fortunately, these days we don't have to do too much by way of statistics ourselves. The computer does that. But we do have to understand what the computer is doing and be able to interpret it. This film is about helping you to prepare your data for analysis. You've done your survey. Many surveys are done on the internet these days, which saves you a lot of work. You don't have to enter the results. But you do need to make sure that you can save the data from the surveys in an appropriate file. And the best form to save them in is an SAV file. It's worth making sure that the internet program that you use for doing your survey can save the data in that format, because many programs can't. If that's not possible, it is okay to save it in an Excel file or even a CSV file, a comma delimited file. If it's in one of those formats, it can usually be opened in a statistical program. If it's in an SAV file, it'll save you many hours of work because it will also contain a lot of additional information. If the survey was done in a printed format, you'll need to enter the data yourself. Most statistical programs allow you to do that, but you must set up the data page so that every item is a column in the data and each row is one person's responses. And then you enter the number or the words for each person's response for each of the items. You can do this on a spreadsheet and transfer it to the statistical program, but that involves a few more problems. It's better if you can do it straight into the statistical program itself. There's a range of statistical programs available. The most widely used for analysis of surveys is SPSS, which is owned by IBM. It's an excellent program, but it is quite expensive. A free alternative, which may well be sufficient for most of your needs, is PSPP, developed by several universities in the USA. And it can do many of the things that SPSS can do and has similar menus and ways of doing things. And I will use PSPP in this film. But most of what I say, most of the demonstrations I give you also apply to SPSS. Another free alternative, which is easy to use but still lacks some important facilities, is JASP, developed by Amsterdam University, and it can be well worth looking at. There are 2 pages for each set of data, and you can move from one page to the other via the tab at the bottom left of the screen. One page contains the actual data. The other page contains the details of the variables. And the first thing to do is to go to the variable page and to enter the details of each variable. First of all, you need a variable name. I use meaningful names which allow me to group variables together. So all demographics begin with a D, for example. So I have D age, D sex, D education, and so on as names for my variables. Specify if the variable is text or whether it's numeric, whether it's date, and so on, and how many decimal points you need. Usually for surveys, you'll not need any decimal points. And then there's the variable label, where you write in the question number often, and at least a brief version of the question. It's most helpful to have this here when you come to do analysis and when it prints out your results. You then need to add in labels for each possible response to each item in your list of variables. This is particularly important for lists of names, such as gender, or the states where people live, or their denominational identity. Having those lists there will help you to interpret results when they're produced by the computer. You'll need to specify how your survey program has specified missing data. It's common for some survey programs to actually put a 9 or 99 or -1 or -9 or 0 for missing data. And you may well have specified this when setting up your survey in the program. I'll discuss missing data in some detail in a few minutes. But you'll need to enter in what it is, how missing data is specified into that table. You'll also need to know what sort of data is contained in the variable, and this needs careful attention. There are 3 types of data. The first type is nominal data, also sometimes referred to as categorical data. It's a list of names which have no particular numerical order, but are assigned an arbitrary number. Gender is in fact a nominal variable. It doesn't matter whether male is 1 and female is 2 or vice versa. Birthplace, again, how the countries of birthplace are ordered is irrelevant. It's just that you need to arbitrarily assign a number to them. Denominational identity is the same. So that's nominal data. Ordinal data has a direction, but does not indicate anything about the gaps between the numbers. Likert items in which people are asked to respond to a sentence by indicating whether they strongly agree, neutral, disagree strongly. And that may be scored from 1 to 5. So you've got a direction in it, but you really don't know what the gap is, what a gap is between 1 and 2, or 2 and 3, or 3 and 4, whatever. The final type of data is a scale variable, sometimes also referred to as interval data. And the numbers refer to something you've measured where the gap is meaningful. Thus, with age, you know the gap between 24 and 36, for example, and you know that it's the same gap as between 48 and 60. When you ask people on a scale of 0 to 10 how busy they are on most weekdays, the data is strictly ordinal. However, we often treat it as interval data, because people have an intuitive idea of what the numbers mean, and the gap is relatively meaningful. The type of data is very important to understand, as the sort of statistics you can perform with each type of data varies. You can specify the type of data for each variable in your list of variables within the program. Once you've added those details, you can return to examine the data page itself. The next stages of preparing your data for analysis will be discussed in the second film.